Hello, it's been a while. I am your host, Elijah, aka Loco Lizard Man, and I'm here with a new episode of the LocoCast. And what I figured this will be is a little review extravaganza, review extravaganza, however you want to say it. I've played a number of games this year, and I have reviews queued up for a few of them, and I'm going to be doing even more. So I figured I will start by doing a few of them that I have prepared, and there's going to be part one. There's going to be a part two coming later with a few more. So, what do you say we get started? And we're going to start off with a game I was very, very excited about called Wanted Dead. This game, and I mean this in the best way possible, it felt like a PS3 game. And I mean, like, we don't have games that feel that way anymore. Action games of that time frame just had a such a different feel to them than action games nowadays. I can't really explain it. I recently played two PS3 games and they had that feeling. And then I played a couple PS4 games that had a similar play style and they felt so different. So that's I want to start off by saying that because when I talk about this game, you're going to get a lot of PS3 vibes from the way I talk. But that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So let's start off. I can't talk. Let's start off with the story. The story was fine. There is a bad guy, and he wants you dead. That's it. That's your story. There was nothing there that's going to set the world ablaze. Nothing there that's going to be the most memorable thing. But I had a good time with it. It kept me motivated to keep going. And, we will get to them in a few moments here. But the characters fed on the story's vibes and just had me going, okay, I can't wait to see what happens next. Not because I think it's going to be the most amazing thing, but I'm really excited. It's going to be fun. Now, as I said, the characters. The characters were pretty good overall. There were some that had me going, okay, I don't I don't know if this character really needs to be in here. It wasn't really bringing anything. Like the main character, Hannah Stone, I loved her. She was fun. The main bad guy, I mean this in a good way. He had such a punchable face. And I mean that in a good way because he's the bad guy. You want him to feel like that. That's a good thing. You want him to not win. Vivian, who is voiced by the wonderful Stephanie Houston, was such a fun character. I feel like she was not in it enough. I wanted more of her. So that that was kind of a letdown. And I mean, I find this way too often. The characters I like the most, there's just not enough of. Some of the other characters like Herzog, Doc, they they were fine. They were fine. Again, nothing to really set the world ablaze. Nothing to have you saying, "Man, I loved this group of characters," which I think is one of the biggest downfalls of it. Is you want to love the group, you want to love the squad, and they were fine. That's it. They were fine. The gameplay itself was good and not perfect. Like I said, it plays. Felt like a PS3 and 360 game, which is a good thing because it had that vibe, but also had some of the downfalls of those kind of games, where it felt a little clunky at times. Some things just didn't feel good, but I had fun with it overall. And you get chainsaw at moments, and let me tell you, that is a bangin' good time. The game also has a whole bunch of mini games in it, which I'm not gonna say they were anything special, but they were really cool. Uh, there is when you're eating ramen, there's almost a rhythm game to it. Same thing with there's karaoke, and they feel similarish, but you know, fun times. And there wasn't too much of either one to have you saying, "Oh my gosh, so much of no." It the game has you do each one once, just as a hey, we're letting you know this is in here. But it wasn't overbearing, and there's not like a ton of karaoke songs or anything like that. So it's just a good time. There's an arcade game you can play. You can play the claw game, which is really neat because it's collecting. One of them is collecting figures of the different characters. There's also songs to play in the jukebox. There is cinematics from the game, different stuff like that. It's really fun. There's a shooting range where you can go in, practice uh, getting practice your shooting, getting different times and such. Different little mini games like that. It was a good time. But I gotta say, the soundtrack, fantastic. So many just fun, good songs in a way that kind of reminded me of Lollipop Chainsaw, which, if you know me, that game is one of my all-time favorite games. But the music kind of reminded me like that, where it was upbeat and fun music. Like one of the main songs is a cover. It's sang by Stephanie Houston, call of "She Works Hard for the Money." And there are a couple other songs she sings it, and there are a bunch of songs we know, and these are covers. And it is such a fun soundtrack to the point where I got the I don't know if they call it the collector's edition, the limited edition, whatever, but it comes with the soundtrack, and I'm glad I did. Because the music is so fun. I enjoy it. But that is it for Wanted Dead. So, the way I'm going to do my reviews here, I'm not going to give it a number. Basically, I'll say what I thought of it, and just have you saying this is something that interests me, or something that doesn't, I'm curious about it, and what I think. So, I'll say I enjoyed the game. Like I said, it felt like a PS3 game. Number of things to do. The game didn't outstay its welcome. I'm trying to remember how long it took me to beat, but I want to say it was like 6 to 8 hours, maybe. So it's not a super long game. There are some. There was a really fun boss battle I enjoyed, but there were a couple boss battles where I felt like the difficulty was so much more than the level. Like the final boss fight was so challenging to me, and I was like breezing through the levels. I had all the skills unlocked, and the final boss fight was so challenging. But I enjoyed it. I think it's worth playing. Definitely, I can see it not being worth the original price to people. Thankfully, now you can start getting it for like $20 and $30. I think the game is good for that price range. It is fun. I don't think you're going to walk out of there saying, I am sad I played this for this price. The next game we'll be talking about in this review extravaganza, I finally played through and beat Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout, the first game in the Atelier Ryza trilogy, and my first Atelier game. The story. The story was engaging, but it wasn't really deep. It had, the usual, the world is ending connotations and such, but the way it told the story was much more relaxed, and I kind of enjoyed that. Because you get all these dark, intense JRPGs, and this was a much more calm and light way of saying it. And I felt like that was really fun. I enjoyed that. It made me so much more relaxed going into everything and making my way through it. The cast of characters. I love the characters in this game. First off, I've got to say, I will protect Rosalind Stout with my life because she is such a lovable, fun character. One of my favorites in any game. Like, one of, I think, the most adorable and charming characters I've ever, like, not just played as, but had as a part of a party in a game. But then you have everyone from Lila, Claudia, Lent. All these characters are so well pronounced. They are so well done, well written. I loved this entire cast so much. The stories for each character that are presented that expand their life and who they are. If all the Atelier games are like that, I know I'm going to have a blast playing not just the Ryza series, but just Atelier games in general. Like Atelier, the remake of Atelier Marie comes out next month, and I'm so excited for that. As for gameplay, for the most part, it's your typical JRPG. You're going to get what you're going to get. And that's not a bad thing, because, it's the active time style battles where it's turn-based, but there's a bar off to the side where everyone's speed is different, so somebody's spot on the bar is moving faster than another character's or enemies and stuff like that. So it's turn-based, but still with a little bit of urgency. There's nothing that really made it stick out. But then you get the alchemy, which is fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it, but there are so many ingredients, and I had such a hard time finding a number of them. I had to use a guide because I'm like, I don't know where to go. And even in the game, there is a way to look and see, you can find this in this area. I'm like, cool, okay. But then it comes out to, well, there are like 6 different items I could use for gathering, and each type of gathering spot in the area, you can use 3 of the items. So at that point, it would just be go into the area and start guessing on everything. And, like, I got the platinum in this game. I feel like after the game ended, going for the platinum took me longer, or just about as long, as it took me to beat the game and do some side stuff in the middle of it, even. It was a little much. So I'm kind of glad I'm going into a lot of these games after the fact, so I can use guides specifically to tell me where a lot of this stuff can be found. And the music, the soundtrack. That soundtrack still plays in my head. I beat this game in March. It is now almost the middle of June, and the soundtrack still plays in my head. It is a fun soundtrack. And I think fun is the word to really encompass what this game feels like to me. It's fun. It has the whole end of the world story, but it tells it in a fun, charming way. The cast is fun. Like, the word fun encompasses everything about this game. And it really left me wanting more, wanting to dive deeper into this series. So when it comes to my thoughts, and I say this game is very much worth it. It's probably one of my favorite JRPGs I've played in a couple years. Now for the last game on today's big Reviewstravaganza. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4, the OGs, one of my all-time favorite games. It gets slotted in at number 3 on my list, number 4 on my list of all-time favorite games. Resident Evil 4, number 4. It is super important to me. So I was really worried about this new game. I'm just going to be honest. Just because, it's not that I worried it was going to be bad. I was worried because I had in my head a vision of Resident Evil 4. Because I've played the other one so much. So it comes out. The story. They added stuff to this that felt so natural. That felt like it belonged there. Like it had been there forever. How they did that was astounding. The characters. Also, for story, it's the story. If you know the story of Resident Evil 4, it's the story. They added some cool stuff to it, some cool side stuff. It is the story. Characters. They definitely made characters better. Leon doesn't have as many quips as he did in the original, and the game's tone is a little darker and less goofy than the original, but he still has "Where's everybody going? Bingo." And he says stuff like "nighty night nights." He still has those quips. Ada, a lot of people had a problem with the Ada voice actor. I did not. And personally, I know she loves the character of Ada. She played Ada in the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City film. I know she loves the character of Ada. Ashley is so much better in this version. Like I said, the original is one of my all-time favorite games. But all the time, you're like, Ashley, just shut up, please. In this new one, I'm like, Ashley Bay, I will save you. I am coming. Don't worry. I'm coming to get you. Such a better character. They made her less of the whiny damsel in distress and more of the, damn, I got caught. I'm going to try and get my way out of this. Like, they made her such a more engaging character, a more full of life character, a more interesting character. And then you have all the classics, like Sadler. He's so much creepier in this version. He really is. Luis. Oh my god, Luis. Love him in this one. Less of a womanizer and much more of a, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Ramon Salazar. Super creepy. Super creepy. Like, in the original, he's fun to poke fun at. I catch myself all the time saying, "Me amo Ramon Salazar" in his voice from the original. In this new one, no. Every time I see him, it's like, oh no, I do not. Oh, I don't want to be around him. They do such a good job with the characters. The gameplay. If you've played Resident Evil 2, 3, you basically know the gameplay of Resident Evil 4 Remake. They add in some more quests you can take, but it plays like a Resident Evil game, one of the Resident Evil remakes of the last few years. There's not really much more I can say about that because that's how it feels. But in saying that, it's not like it's a bad thing. It feels good because the Resident Evil games play super well. The soundtrack is banging. It's creepy. Got the good save room music. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? It brings you into the game. It feels so fitting. I don't think it's a soundtrack I would really listen to much outside of the game. In fact, I haven't yet. But in the game, it helps transport you to that world. It's so fitting. But like I said, it's not one I'm going to be listening to outside of the game or anything. Overall, the game was incredible. And remember how I said the OG Resident Evil 4 was number 4 on my favorite games of all time list? I think it's going down to number 5, and this is taking its spot. So literally, Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil 4 are numbers 4 and 5. Because I still hold the original in such an incredibly high regard. I'm not gonna... I don't have any ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is still super important for me, and that is not leaving anytime soon. But this new one is so amazingly well done, and I absolutely love it. In fact, just here talking about it has me saying, oh, I want to play through it again. I'm getting the new Dead by Daylight DLC today, and I'm getting 4 games in the next, what's today's date? 13th? In the next 9 days. And I'm here like, I want to play Resident Evil 4 Remake again. It's that good. And I cannot recommend the game enough. That's it, everybody, for my first review extravaganza. Not even extravaganza. No. We're taking the X out. Review extravaganza. I will have even more games coming next time. And I think this is going to be the basic new format going forward. I'm going to record a little thing that will actually post before this and on the same day about how I'm going to do things from here on out. And I'm going to be a little real with everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, good night, everybody.